Alright y'all, for today's video I will be going over how to do a high fade and the best method on using a straight razor. So let's get into it. Alright y'all, I appreciate you for clicking on this video. I hope you guys can find some sort of benefit to it. Like I said before, I'm pretty much just going to be going through how to do a high fade and some tips on using a straight razor. So what you guys see me doing right now is pretty much just observing my hair. So I typically like to cut my hair every week or so, but this time I took a little bit longer. So all I'm doing is just observing the length I have on it and pretty much just imagining in my mind how I want the cut to go, how compressed I want the different guidelines to be, how high I want it, and things of that nature. Now this is actually a very important step, especially when you want to cut others' hair. You want to observe the canvas and just imagine what it is you want to do to it before you start. Now as you guys can see, I've been doing a lot of brushing, and that's because I want every single strand of my hair to be manipulated and going in a downwards direction. Alright, and after I'm done thoroughly brushing the hair, I'm going to go ahead and start my first initial guideline. So this is a good video for beginners, but if this is your very first time touching a clipper, I have another video up right now where I pretty much just explained everything to the T. So with this first guideline, y'all, you do want to make sure that it's as straight as possible, but if you don't get it absolutely perfect, it's not the end of the world. I would definitely say not to stress on it too much, especially if you're cutting your own hair, seeing as the very back part of your head is always the hardest to see, and you know, you're only looking at reflections. You don't have the actual canvas right in front of you. So again, just try to make it as straight as you can, but don't worry about it not being perfect. Alright, and now that I'm done creating that first initial guideline, I'm going to take my outliners and begin to remove all the bulk underneath. Now another reason why brushing your hair before the cut is important is because let's say my hair was growing in many different directions. When I begin this step to cut against the grain, I could leave a couple of light patches in my head, seeing as my hair may be growing in the same direction as I'm moving the clippers. So you pretty much just want to avoid that all in all, because it will make the cut not look as clean as possible. Alright, and after I'm done using my outliners, I'm just going to go ahead and take my shavers and do the exact same thing just to try to get the hair as close to the skin as possible. Now a lot of people don't use shavers because it creates irritation for their skin, but I personally have not had any issue with that. And I really enjoy using them because it'll make the second guideline pop out even more. Alright y'all, and now I'm going to begin again to brush my hair. Now if you guys realized it, I actually haven't touched that top part of my head at all. But just to stay within good habits, I'm still going to brush my hair just to train myself to make sure I'm constantly brushing throughout the cut. Alright y'all, so now I'm going to take my clippers, no guard lever open, and begin to create my second guideline. Now because this is a high fade, I would say to take it up about half to a full inch. You want to keep it as compressed as possible so you don't run out of room going to the top of your head. Now again, I'm going to try to make this guideline as straight as I can, considering the fact that when I begin the blending process, I want to be able to see it as clear as possible, especially since I don't have the best lighting right now. Alright y'all, and after we're done with that second guideline, we're going to take our one guard lever open and go up about another half an inch or so. So one thing you guys can do that I actually didn't do in this video is debulk before we start the guideline process. Now my hair right now is still kind of in the safe zone to where I don't absolutely have to debulk, but it will help, especially for beginners. And the reason why I say this is because if you're a beginner and you can't see the guideline, it may naturally make you want to constantly go up higher, which will eventually sacrifice the look of the fade because that one section will be too long. Alright y'all, and now comes what I would say the hardest part, which is the blending process. Now what you guys see me doing is taking that one guard lever closed and taking out that very top guideline. And the reason why I say this may be the hardest process is because these guidelines are so compressed. And for my beginners out there, you want to make sure you're not going up too high, because if you go up too high with that lever closed, all you're doing is just creating another guideline and pushing the previous one up even higher. So everybody's head is different, And for mine, I realized that the one guard lever close was taking out some sections of the line, but not the whole line around my head. So what I did was switch to my half guard lever open, and as I go across my head, I will close it little by little in the sections that need it. Alright y'all, and now that we're done with our half guard, we're going to take our clippers with no guard lever close and knock out that very bottom line. Now it really doesn't matter if you fade from top to bottom like I did, or bottom to top. This is just personal preference, and when we take out this very bottom line, that's really going to bring the fade together and make it look like a professional cut. Now one thing I typically like to do after the blending process is what I call cleanup work. And for me analyzing my head, I noticed that the very top section has a lot of bulk. So I'm going to take my 2 guard lever open to remove some of it. And I'm not going to consider this to be part of the guideline or the fading process, but if need be, I will close that number 2 and take out a harsh line if I do create one. Alright y'all, and now we're officially done with the haircut. And it's actually kind of funny because now that I'm in the editing process, I actually see a few flaws within the blend. But as I always say, man, nobody's really going to be able to tell unless they're A licensed barber, or B, they're staring at your haircut for a long time. Typically when you're in passing with somebody, they're not going to be able to tell if your haircut is good or not, especially if they don't have any experience with cutting hair. But what I will say is that the cleaner the cut is, the more noticeable it will be. And honestly y'all, another thing that I like to tell people is that in my opinion, it's actually hard to mess up your haircut if you're not intentionally trying to. And y'all, I just want to make one last point before I start this lining process. Now I'm every bit of maybe 4 feet away from the mirror, and throughout the rest of the video, I want you guys to look and pay attention to when I turn my head and look to the side and see how clean and how blended this fade looks. And again, I find it quite funny because this is literally the exact same job barbers would do, but people tend to pay them $40, $50, $60, even $70 when they can do it at home for completely free. But anyway, all you guys see me doing right now is simply just brushing my hair in a downwards direction, because for my next step, I'm going to debulk that hairline. So for this debulking process, I took my half guard lever open and cut in the same direction that I was brushing, just to lighten up that hairline a little bit. Alright, and the next step is to take your outliners and put them right in the center of your eyebrows, and then go in a straight direction from one side to the other. Alright y'all, and now moving on to the straight razor, man. One of the biggest hacks I can give y'all is using shaving cream. Now this shaving cream helps the razor glide across your face, and it prevents those bumps that tend to pop up sometimes. So yeah man, if y'all can tell, I'm only putting that shaving cream on the top of my beard, the part that I'm going to line up. Since I'm not cutting my whole beard off, there's really no reason for me to put it all throughout my beard. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to run a rag through some hot water and then place that hot rag on my face for about 10 to 15 seconds. So as y'all can see, it seems as if the shaving cream is gone, but it's actually still there, and it's performing exactly how I want it to. I want it to dissolve just a little bit so I can see how I'm going to do the lining on my beard, but I also still want it to have that smooth-like function so the razor can glide against my face. So one of the biggest things that I want you guys to take away from this is to make sure you're stretching the skin while you're cutting the hair. Now, if you have a pudgy face like mine, then it's easier for that blade to dig in, and these things are so sharp, man, it's very easy to cut yourself. And that's why before you use this on anybody else, I really want you guys to test and get the hang of it on yourself first, because this can be a really dangerous tool. So the way I'm holding the blade is at a 45-degree or less angle. One thing you never want to do is hold it in a position to where it's like a 90-degree angle where it can possibly poke or pierce right through the skin. And trust me, it is very easy to cut yourself, which is again why I recommend you guys do this on yourselves before you try to do it on anybody else. Because if I'm being honest, still to this day, I will end up with a few cuts and nicks on my face from using this straight razor, which is actually proven right here, man. As y'all can see, I still ended up nicking myself near the bottom of my chin area, which it isn't the end of the world. It doesn't hurt or anything like that, but you know, obviously you don't want to cut anybody else. But yeah, man, this is pretty much the final product. This is what the final cut looks like. I hope you guys found some sort of benefit from it, you guys learned. Be sure to share this with somebody else, man. Somebody who can really benefit from cutting their own hair. And if y'all like this type of content, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, as I will be posting weekly. And yeah, man, right now I have a motivational / vlogging channel. I have a react channel out right now. So if y'all love consistent content, you like seeing something new on your timeline all the time, be sure to check those out in the description below. But besides that, man, I have fun making this video. I hope I could be of inspiration and of help to you guys out there. And yeah, man, I'll catch y'all on the next one.